Composing functions is a process in which a function is the variable of another function. This means that we substitute a function g of x, for instance, to another function f of x, coming up with a new function f of g of x. This can be written as f of g of x. This operation is pretty useful when a variable which affects another variable is defined by a specific function. An example is the amount of cars in a location affects the amount of particulate matter in the atmosphere, which in turn affects the amount of sunlight, which affects the growth rate of plants. This can be written as f of g of h of x or f of g of h of x, where the values of f of x represents the growth rate of the plants in the area, g of x represents the amount of sunlight received, h of x represents the amount of particulate matter in the atmosphere, and x represents the amount of cars in a particular location. But let's start easy. Moving on to the actual operation example, we have two functions, f of x is equals to x squared minus 6x plus 9, and g of x is equals to x minus 2. And we want to find the new function that will be formed when we substitute g of x in the function f of x. To do this, we simply replace all the x's in the function f of x with the function g of x. F of g of x is equals to quantity x minus 2 squared minus 6 quantity x minus 2 plus 9. After substituting, we reduce the equation to its simplest form. F of g of x will be equal to quantity x squared minus 4x plus 4 minus 6x plus 12 plus 9. Further reducing, we arrive at f of g of x equals to x squared minus 10x plus 25. We can test if the equation is correct by substituting a value to the function g of x, substituting the result to f of x, and comparing the end result to the new function f of g of x. For this example, we will substitute 9. G of x is equals to 9 minus 2 will result to 7. Substituting the result to f of x is equals to 7 squared minus 6, quantity 7 plus 9 will be equal to 49 minus 42 plus 9 will result to 16. Solving for f of g of x, where x is equals to 9, f of g of x will be equal to 9 squared minus 10 quantity 9 plus 25 equal to 81 minus 90 plus 25 will result to 16, which as we can see is the same as the result before. Note that the functions cannot be switched with each other as it would lead to a different result. F of g of x is not equal to g of x unless the functions are inverse of each other. In the next slide, we'll show a problem that you can try to solve yourself as an application of why using